Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the webinar this evening. Happy International Women's Day. I'm Jenny Leach, the Participation Manager for Table Tennis England, and I've been leading on the Women and Girls work. I will also be joined later by four amazing panellists and who will introduce themselves on the panel. And after that, Adrian Christie, Interim Table Tennis England CEO. Tonight, we'll set the current picture of women and girls in table tennis, what we've achieved so far, and what we're going to do going forward. The panel will also share their thoughts from four different perspectives in the sport. Before we begin, a bit of housekeeping. We are recording this and we're also streaming this live on Facebook. We will be aiming to share this post-webinar, so please keep your cameras off, stay muted, and please feel free to change your name to initial if you prefer. Because as I said, this will be seen by more people than that's on the call tonight. It may be slightly over an hour, so there may be a chance of having questions at the end. So please do send those through on the chat. But if not picked up tonight, we'll follow up in an email either to everyone or separately with you. So, thanks, Annie. So just to set the scene, when I use the term women and girls, it does not mean every woman and girls are the same or will have the same needs in table tennis. It is simply an overarching term to refer to the group as a whole in the setting. We currently have 12% female members, 17% female licensed coaches, and 3% in Premier clubs and league chair positions. The numbers show that we aren't engaging or keeping women and girls in the sport. The feedback we are getting that this is down to negative experiences, and the quotes here give a few examples of what is going on behind these numbers. These quotes are included in the 18 to 30 task report, talking around barriers that put women and girls off the sport or led them to disengage. This does not mean that all women and girls have a negative experience. In fact, some of our more social programs, for example, Bat and Chat or our ping program, are at or over 50% women participating. Secondly, 81% of respondents to the task survey wanted to be re-engaged, but there wasn't an opportunity for them in the sport at this time. To add to this, there are many life stages that girls face as they get older. Some of these dropout points are common across all sports, and so it is inevitable that we see a high percentage of some girls dropping out at certain ages. However, we can still do more to re-engage them back in and help them have positive experiences in table tennis. We cannot ignore that in many areas of sport, there is a lot of barriers or challenges facing women and girls to be involved, leading to them not feeling valued or like they don't belong. For us to break down those barriers and truly make the sport an inclusive and welcoming place, we need to make changes. Thanks, Annie. So, what have we achieved so far? We've had a focus on improving the game for women and girls for the past few years. We've had some success with this, and often on an individual basis, and we do have some fantastic examples of women and girl engagement nationally. We've had some big achievements which have led us where we are today, knowing that when the right opportunity is given at the right time with the right people and the right environment, it can make a lot of impact and improve the experience for many women and girls. A few of these are the kit regulation. Domestic kit rule change to allow more flexibility on what clothing can be worn without permission from a referee at competitions. This was important to ensure that when a player went to a competition, they didn't have to worry about anything else other than playing their best. This was then proposed and passed at the ITTF AGM to start the consultation and conversation around this internationally. Table Tennis England, after the Commonwealth Games on the Gold Coast, as were the sports, tasked with a 50-50 split of male and female umpires and referees for Birmingham 2022. This has been achieved and in the process has modernised the way umpires and referees are trained, and also introduced polo shirts as kit over shirts and ties, modernising that side as well. In 2021, Kelly Sibley became the women's head coach. We have relaunched Women and Girls Ambassadors with a more structured approach to help our ambassadors raise their profile and reach their goals even more. We are already seeing the impact from our Women and Girls Ambassadors, which we'll share over this week on our social media and website, also more in the future. We have funded and continue to fund significant women and girls focused projects in the past and obviously going in the future through the BTT programme, satellite clubs, and most recently the Level Table Grant Scheme. We've also seen some great success with our female-only programmes, such as TT Kids for Girls and Bat and Chat. The impact of these changes have been key to deciding what the goal should be in the future. There were lots of different conversations around how to build on the success, but we really felt passionately about continue to build on this momentum and open up the conversation to strive for change and helping women and girls to reach their potential. So going forward, Table Tennis England will be striving towards the long-term ambition of gender parity in table tennis. Thank you, Annie. To put it simply, obviously gender parity definition is a 50-50 male-female split, but this means a lot more to us. We will collect quantitative data as it is still an important measure. This in some areas of sport is much easier to collect. So for example, as I mentioned, the Teach Kids for Girls project, we collect that through surveys and we can easily see that through bookings. However, not all measures that show we're having a positive impact on the sport can be shown through this, nor does it always tell exactly if women and girls or the people we're trying to reach feel a part of the sport. This is why we'll be collecting information to measure other ways of how we're working towards gender parity and making changes to reflect this. From feedback and insight, we know that some of the women and girls in table tennis don't feel valued or like they belong in the sport. They don't see a future for themselves, whether that's playing, coaching, or volunteering. These opportunities are in the sport. They are there in table tennis, but there are clearly some barriers for these women and girls to access them or even know they're there. For us to really achieve gender parity, women and girls need to feel valued, like they have a voice, and are visible, and they can see a future for themselves in the sport. They can reach their full potential. We want to bring more women and girls into all areas of the sport, and so we will need to make changes to do this. A few examples of these will be creating female-only spaces and widening the understanding of why they are so important and how best to deliver them. An example of this is researching the opportunity to have female-only, female-led coaching courses. Ensuring that our language is inclusive and we are using a wide range of imagery on websites and articles. Educating and empowering deliverers and people in the sport in key positions to help make changes across clubs, leagues, communities, and counties, and continuing to raise the profile of women and girls in a variety of roles in the sport. We are now going to listen to a panel discussion based around the theme of International Women's Day 2022, Break the Bias. Thanks, Annie. Good evening and welcome to the first part of tonight's webinar celebrating International Women's Day 2020. Tonight's panel discussion will be based around the theme of Break the Bias. Each panellist will share how they break the bias in table tennis, as well as their experience in the sport. I will now introduce you to the panel. Emma?
Hi everyone, so my name's Emma. I've been a player in the sport for about 25 years now, played as an international player for England. I'm currently a non-executive director on the board of table tennis. And my break the bias is that I am still a female player playing in my early 30s, typically a time when many players would have dropped out. And I'm also a sort of younger member of the board and a female player who has sort of transitioned into the board role.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. Demi?
Hi, so my name is Demi. I am a new employee for Table Tennis England for the customer service and project administrator. And I've been playing table tennis since I was about 11 years old. The way I break the bias is I'm a former university player, president of my club for 2 years, and still continuing to play on.
Brilliant. Thank you, Demi. Amanda?
Hi, my name's Amanda. I'm actually a wheelchair user, so you can't see it, but I'm sitting in a wheelchair. So I suffered a near fatal accident 6 years ago where I became paralysed from the waist down. I spent my rehab at Stoke Mandeville, which is where the Paralympics started, and was introduced to table tennis whilst I was there. I didn't pursue it at the time. I came home and spent time recovering with my family, but recently became introduced to the sport again. And my break advice is to try and encourage female disabled people, well, females especially, to feel that they can be involved in the sport and to stop the stereotype that it just has to be able-bodied men.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amanda. And Veronica.
Hi, my name is Veronica. and I'm a coach in the south east of England. I primarily work with secondary schools and colleges and youth clubs, but I do primary school as well. And there's obviously the range of children from 8-year-olds to 25-year-olds. I break the bias by coaching schools. I do have a couple of girls' schools, which is great. So it's just me and them, and they've really inclusive with what we're doing because they don't feel any stigma at all. So I break the bias by participating with the girls, showing them that it can be done. I play in leagues as well, so I show them what you can do if you want to take the sport to another level outside of school. And I do that throughout the board, regardless of which schools I'm at or youth clubs I'm at. I do that across the board. But I do love to get the young women and the girls to participate and see what future they can have in table tennis.
Well, thanks, Veronica. I'm sure you agree, it's a very exciting panel tonight, so we'll start off with the questions. So, Emma, I'm going to you first. Can you share your experience of being a female player in table tennis?
Absolutely. I've had lots of really a female within the sport for about 25 years now. And, table tennis has actually sort of shaped my entire life. If we look at some of the roles I'm in currently, so in my job, with tasks and also as a member of the board, if I hadn't started playing the sport and I hadn't continued playing the sport, I would have never met the people that have got me into these positions that I have. So it's really shaped a large portion of my life. I've had lots of positive experiences in the sport. I've had some negative experiences in the sport. I've had times when I've been the only female player playing in a hall of maybe 100 men. Quite recently, actually, at the British League, when I played a couple of weeks ago, there was only 2 women in the hall, around with 100 other males. So often one of the only 2 players in the hall. Overall, I would say my experience in the sport have been pretty positive, and I wouldn't be where I am without them.
So just to add a point to that, Emma, so when you go into a hall, and obviously anyone else feel free to jump on this, when you go into a hall and then meet 2 or 3 kind of female players, how does that make you feel? Like, how do you overcome that when you play?
I think for me, it's never really been a problem. When I was younger, there weren't many other female players in my club, so I just had to get used to playing against males. Whereas seeing some other players, it can be quite often. From research we have done, we found that when female players are in male-dominated environments, can feel a bit uncomfortable. Maybe feel that they're being judged, maybe feel they're not the level that they could be, have sort of comments made at them, shouldn't be to a girl and things like that. So it can be a bit off-putting. Also the social side as well. So lots of women play because they want to be social and interact with other players. Sometimes you want to do that with other females. You might not feel comfortable doing that with males. So there are sort of downsides to it that I have experienced.
Thank you, Emma. Demi, over to you. At university, was that the experience that Emma talked about, very, very kind of truly university experience as well?
Yeah, so I moved from London where I played with a lot of girls, and I moved to Norwich, which was only me and one other girl that joined that year. And it was massively male dominated. It was quite scary. Like trial was 20 odd people and you're sitting there, only female, and it can be quite daunting. And it was kind of a massive barrier to get past. And over the years, especially like my second year, I hated the fact there was only 2 females in the club, which pushed me to move on to apply to be a president of the club, to encourage more females into it. And it was successful to see somebody at a higher position kind of encourage more females to get involved in this like that social club level, and then moved into playing squad level. And it was really nice to see that kind of involvement.
Yeah, that's amazing, Demi. I'm sure that's a bit of a lasting legacy you'll have left there by inspiring more players to get into the sport. Veronica, I'm going to come to you now as a perspective from a female coach. Can you share your experience being a female coach in table tennis?
Yeah, I mean, before I was a female coach, I was always a player. So where we were talking about the male dominance of the sport, I sort of embraced it anyway because I started playing with boys from the young age. So you kind of get on with it. You know, if you love what you do, it's not easy, but you have to sort of embrace yourself and say, do you know what? This is what it is. You know, you're not going to change it. And I want to play the sport. So you're going to compete against these men or boys. So you kind of just take that and use that as your strength. But from my experience as a coach in table tennis, I don't think people take women coaching very seriously. I found when I first started, I think I had to not prove myself, but I think I had to earn that respect, or I had to sort of push myself, not push myself, but be more in your face. You know what I mean? To say, look, well, I'm here, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how this is how I would like to get the girls and the children involved in table tennis. But to me, I've always been used to fighting anyway. So to me, it's like a challenge for me. It's like, okay, you're saying to me I can't, or you don't have many girls that want to play. How are you going to improve that? And I just try and make it more fun. I try to get them involved. I try to find out what makes them want to play in the first place, which is always a big thing because I find that the reasons why girls play is probably different from the reasons that the boys play. The boys are more creative and might want to try out things without you telling them anything, where girls, you have to sort of show them and then they take on the technical side and then they learn differently in certain ways. So I embrace both sides of it. So I had to sort of bring different roles to different sexes, so to speak, to see why they're there and how I'm going to keep them being there and to keep them staying in the sport, basically. So it's a huge range for me because I deal with so many different types of schools, and being a Black woman as well, that is also huge with the behaviours and certain cultures and mixing with different cultures. That's also a huge thing. But I look at everything and it's hard to explain the whole of it, because I have so many mixed children in a particular school. Some of them will take to it really well. Some of them will look at me as a Black woman because we share similar culture. Some of it will look at it in a different way. So I have to combine all of these different things as well as keep them entertained, keep it fun, keep it light, teach them, show the skills, see the potential, encourage them, everything. It's like so many different things that I have to be aware of and sort of try to put into the session when I'm there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, completely. And it isn't just kind of turning up to a session and delivering a session plan. It's all, like you said, Monica, there's so much that goes into it. But yeah, how is your pupils that you do coach, that you get someone like you involved with it? Go on.
No, that's okay.
So Amanda, now coming to you, coming back into the sport, and kind of, I'd love to know your experiences as being involved as a player, and also kind of your thoughts on your doing the level 1 team as well. So we'd love to hear around any thoughts around that as well.
Yeah, well, as I say, I've only been playing since September. I threw myself in wholeheartedly and I've joined the league. I think what I find really surprising with what we were saying earlier is about the different age groups. And I've only met one girl of, I think she's 11 or 12, who actually plays. The women I have met who play are a little bit older than me. They're normally sort of retired and they've come back to it as a pastime, something to do now that they've got more time on their hands. So it has got me thinking why we have such a big gap in girls of a younger age. But I also think it's possibly because where it is male dominated, it's quite intimidating for them at their age. And I've always been a little bit like Veronica. I rise to a challenge, and it is quite intimidating, as well as obviously the fact I'm female. I also use a wheelchair, which has presented quite a few challenges in itself. But I will push myself, but it's for the girls of a younger age who maybe don't have the confidence and the experience in how to handle themselves, that we really need to sort of focus on, hopefully, to give them the confidence, because the sport is so accessible. I mean, anyone can play it. And I think it's really important to try and make it accessible to as many females that we can, of whatever age group, whatever background they come from. You know, we have very underprivileged people in our area as well, underprivileged families. So it's being able to make it accessible to everybody. And I've just noticed that there is quite a gap in the ages of people who are playing in the female hockey.
Brilliant. Thank you, Amanda. So we're going to move on to my next question now. And this is around, Captain England are focusing on increasing the women and girls in sport in all areas of sport. So not just participation, but coaching, committees. We really want to the space intelligence to feel like a space that women and girls want to be part of. So I'd love to know, Demi, I'm going to come to you first. Your thoughts on kind of gender parity in table tennis, and what would that mean to you?
Yeah, gender parity is massive. It's a kind of bit the equality and, you know, feeling, you know, comfortable in that situation with such a male-dominated place. From my experience at university, you know, being one of the 2 females in the club with, you know, 40 other males is not really how you want to feel. You don't want to feel like you're at a disadvantage at any point. So it's a massive thing to kind of encourage more females to kind of raise that percentage of female participation in a sport, whether that obviously be massively in table tennis or any other sports. And, you know, over the couple of years of encouraging more females to come in, that percentage did grow, but it's not at a place that I wanted it to be. I didn't necessarily be 50% because that's a work in progress, but to be at a higher level where when females come into the sport at university or, you know, in clubs once they leave university, that more females in there is encouraging, and that then will drive them to, you know, bring their friends, bring their families, and raise that percentage. So I think just building that confidence in women to play is massive in gender parity.
Brilliant. Thank you, Demi. Amanda, I'd love to know your thoughts on the future goal for table tennis aiming for gender parity. I'd love to know kind of what you think about that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mention either about me doing the level 1. Yes, I'm very excited about doing that too, but gender parity, my understanding is that for it to be an equal number of, you know, both male and female representatives in the sport. And I actually think, well, it doesn't have to be equal, we could be more. I mean, why not? I think it's not important on the number, it's on how we are made to feel. We should be made to feel as equal as the male participants. We should be respected in the same way. We should be treated the same way. And we should be considered to be as good at the sport the same way, and that we can bring, you know, valuable contribution differently from a man, but equally as important. And that's what this is about, that male and females are different. Doesn't make males better than female because we're different. We have different attributes and different talents. And that in table tennis, with it being such an accessible sport, the talents of both male and female combined make the sport excel even more. So that's my idea. Sorry, I have got a dog barking in the background.
That's okay. Thank you, Amanda. I think that some really, really good points there, and completely wholeheartedly agree with you. Emma, I'm going to come to you now. So obviously you mentioned earlier that you're on the board and have been in table tennis a long time. I would love to know your thoughts around what you think the challenges or the barriers we may face around really focusing on gender parity. And in the same breath, I'd love to know kind of your personal experience of going onto a board in a male-dominated sport. I'd love to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously been on the board now for about 7 or 8 months, going really quickly. And yeah, for me, it's been a really eye-opening opportunity. I mean, I've learned so much about the sport. You know, I thought I knew a lot, but actually now that we're talking about all these different issues and topics, I've learned so much. And yeah, it's really sort of challenged me as a person as well. And I think, you know, just sort of like someone like myself on the board who's sort of early 30s and female, you know, if I was a younger player now looking up at the board, you know, I really like to see someone like myself on there, and would have really maybe aspired to maybe do something like that in the future. In terms of some of the barriers that players face, I think there's loads across, you know, from that social to the elite level. I think one of the main barriers, which we do know from research, is sort of opportunities to combine playing table tennis with sort of your work or with your education. And I think at the moment we probably don't have enough environments where we can facilitate that. So this probably is quite similar to sort of Demi's experience, but when you go to university, it's a really good opportunity to engage in new sport, meeting people. And actually, I think at the moment there are very few universities where table tennis really is a focus sport. And there are opportunities for females to come together. You know, there's good facilities, there's coaching, there's competitive opportunities. You know, I think we're going to be looking at maybe 4 or 5 universities where that's actually happening at the moment. So a really big one for me, and something I want to help build on the board forward, is to help build that university system and sort of build more opportunities for female players to continue playing throughout their university careers.
Yeah, thank you, Emma. Yes, really valuable insights there. Veronica, I'm going to come to you now. Around coaching, so we have under 20% of our coaches are women, and obviously you are doing your level 3, supervised level 3. I'd love to know your thoughts on how do you think we should engage more female coaches into sport at any level?
That's a deep one. Where do I start? I'm just trying to think. This, I mean, I think the schools is going to be the first basis, I think, because the younger we can get them used to or know that the sport is there as an opportunity for them, the more confidence, like I say, with women, they need to build the confidence because they feel that they're in a male-dominated sport anyway. I think it would be good to have more coaches in schools, more people that they can look to, more mentors to sort of go to as well. But just from the school perspective, I think, yeah, getting more girls, getting more coaches into schools or teachers that are willing to help the girls build on that confidence. Because table tennis is a lot about confidence when you're learning a skill, where the boys make it look easy because they sort of compete with each other, where the girls don't. So just getting, if they see more women coaches or women players in their school or elite players or somebody that's probably better than think, oh, I want to be like you, someone that they can look towards, that would really help with their confidence, saying, oh, I can do that. But because that's not there, and they feel already that they're not included, because there's nobody there to mentor them or to show them, no, we can be better or we can get into school, they tend not to do it. And I think that doesn't help with the dropout as well, because I think as they get nearer to 15, 16, they drop out because they didn't feel included in the first place. So I find that is some of the questions or the answers when I talk to my girls at school, these are the things that they say. They say they don't feel included, and they would say, it's like, oh, miss, if you wasn't here, I wouldn't play. And I was like, well, what would you do if I didn't come? Because, I would have played at home with my family. So they say things like that. So that makes you think they want to play, but they don't feel there's an avenue for them to go down at school without anybody to look at or look for to help make them feel that they're included in the sport, if that makes any sense. And that's a huge one. That is really huge. In the girls' schools I do, not a problem because we're all girls. So we share things and we talk about things and I talk to them and not a problem to about. With the mixed ones, they feel intimidated with the boys. The girls might start off coming and then they drop off because they feel intimidated or the boys take up. Even though I've given them a table and I spend more time with them, try to spend more time with them and let them feel included and mix them well up a little bit, they still feel quite intimidated by the boys. So I'm not sure how I'm getting over that, but they still come, but I still feel that they feel better when they're not in school. So I try to get them out of school, not out of school like that, but into a table tennis in their spare time, where I've got an inclusive class, and then they feel more involved because they're learning something, and then they're meeting other boys and girls of a higher level where they think, oh, I can be like that girl there. So that they look at themselves within somebody else, if you see what I mean. And they seem to do that outside of school more so than inside of school.
Yeah, thank you, Veronica. Emma, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of when players, female players leave the school, many of them aren't coming back in, sort of like 4, 5, 10 years later. They're just dropping out altogether and not engaging in, volunteering or umpiring, or, just volunteering in their club environment. So actually, I think what we need is like more targeted intervention at getting sort of younger female players involved in coaching, officiating, and being on committees, whilst they're actually still engaged in the sport instead of trying to do it when they've left.
Yeah, I completely agree. Very important. We see that through the Teach Kids program and the Young Ambassadors program. The ambassadors and the activators who get really involved there, then we see them a few years later involved in other areas of sports. So completely back to that. Amanda, to go back to your obviously booking onto the level 1 course coming up soon, I'd love to know what made you book onto it and what you're looking forward to doing as a coach.
I think that the fact, obviously I'm female predominantly, but having the fact that I have an extra challenge as well as being female, I feel the fact that I want to put myself forward to be a coach, give other younger girls or other women the sort of perspective, well, you know, if she can do it, she's female, but she's also got other challenges that she's facing, then I can do it too. I've always been really, as I say, it's not only about, I think what a lot of the hang-ups are, is that when you play table tennis, you have to be good at it. And unless you're good at it, then you shouldn't really be playing it. There's that sort of real competitiveness that comes into it. And I think that there are other avenues. Firstly, it should be about the enjoyment of the sport and what you get out of it that makes you happy and builds your confidence. But you don't necessarily have to be good at table tennis to actually coach it, which is what I like. As long as you know sort of the biomechanics and how the sport works. Obviously, you have to have an understanding of the game. I can't say you could just go in and do it blind. But if you have a basic understanding of the game, like for example, I can't put spin on the ball, but I could tell someone how to put spin on the ball. And I think it's being able to get that across, that you can teach things, even if you can't actually do them yourself. So I want to be able to give the opportunity for other people to enjoy the sport how I enjoy it and to coach them and maybe bring out, if there is potential in some of the females that we do have, to help be one of those people to bring out that potential. But even if they don't have potential, just to bring out the fact that it gives you confidence and that it gives you, it's not only when you're playing table tennis, that confidence you have from playing sport you can take into life. It's about learning what you learn at the table tennis table, take to help you through life as well and to help you overcome different situations in life. I think sport is really good for doing that in life in general. So that's really important why I want to be a coach. And yeah, I can't wait. I'm really excited. Can't actually believe it's happening because it's all happening so quickly. But it's a real privilege to be involved. And it's actually a real privilege to be with you amazing women today. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Amanda. And I completely agree that a coach has such power to inspire kind of next generation, not only players, but next coaches and officials. I personally got into this role through being at university and being inspired by fellow women who were coaching. So it really does have the power, have the opportunity. So Demi, going to come back to you now. So there's been a real rise in female-only sessions, not only in table tennis, but across a lot of other sports. I'd love to know what your thoughts are and how we can bring more women and girls into table tennis. What do you think are a few things that would really make a difference in sport?
For table tennis, in my point of view, and kind of why I stayed involved in table tennis was just the love of the sport. I felt like this was a place where you belong, and even though it was male dominated, no one ever made you kind of feel like you didn't belong there. And I think having that experience was great for me, and then to kind of share that with other females when I was playing in London was great. So then to move to Norwich and not really have that feeling, kind of drive to make sure that more females were involved and also had that kind of experience also. But I think just keeping females inspired by the sport, sharing stories like, people who are going on to coaching courses and encouraging the females to play, Tintin Ho, who was playing for England, keeping those kind of stories alive and publicizing them all over table tennis England, all over that sport England, just making sure girls know that there is, a way forward. It doesn't end at the end of, sixth form or year 11 or, the end of university. I felt kind of disadvantaged where I didn't find the job that I wanted in sport. But then I came across table tennis England and, it was a dream come true. And because I kind of had that drive that I wanted to, encourage girls to stay in the sport was the reason why I kind of found this job. So it's just, you know, the aesthetic of table tennis, I think, is a massive push in table tennis and for females.
Amazing. Thank you, Demi. Yeah, some really insightful thoughts there, and really interesting experience going from London, where I know the setup very well with Greenhouse, and then going to Norwich, and a very different setup, and especially the transition to university as well. So I'm going to ask you all kind of one final question now. So we are doing a lot of work, obviously increasing the profile of women and girls. We're wanting clubs, lead community groups to really start thinking about how they can make small changes to be more accessible to women and girls, but what they can do to engage them. I'd love to go around from your areas in the sport and your experiences. What would be your message to anyone who's thinking about maybe doing a women and girls session or a team girls session, or they're wanting to increase their female membership? I'd love to know your thoughts on something they could do from your area. So I'll go around in the order we started. So Emma, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah, so what we do know is that the social side for females is obviously absolutely massive. So when they have really good relationships in sport with their teammates and coaches and friends, their connection to sport really grows. So I think we should be doing more to offer, you know, female-only sessions and that are also age appropriate and maybe level appropriate as well. And yeah, getting more females in those sessions, playing with each other and socialising, making friends as well. But I also need to, I think we need to consider the competitive side as well. So are we offering the right competitions for those female players? So if the social side is so important for those players, you know, are we offering more sort of team-related events, doubles-related events, you know, events where we can socialise and really make friends? So yeah, for me, some of the key aspects would be around female-only sections for players at the right level and the right age, and also competitions that people can play.
Brilliant. Thank you, Emma. Just one more question on that. So you talk around female-only sessions and it being suitable for age ability. What do you mean by that? Can you go into more detail?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, you know, if you're a beginner and you've never played before, when you're just introduced to the sport, you know, coming into a session maybe with a player who's been playing for quite a long time, been playing in events, and is, you know, slightly better, I think could be quite off-putting. And that player, you know, might get beat quite easily and actually might not then ever come back again. So I think, you know, having the appropriate sessions that meet the needs different levels is really important, and that's been something that's really important for me as well. So my club has been really good in offering us Thursday night section where we can go and I can play with other females sorry, who are at the same level as me, and you know, we don't just play table tennis, we also talk because we're friends. And yeah, that's been one of the main reasons why I'm actually still involved, is because of that specific session.
Brilliant, thank you. Emma, that is so important. I completely agree. Having the right ability, having the right kind of ages there, and that also goes to the marketing and the imagery on the promotion of those sessions as well. So I think it's a really important point to factor in. Demi, I am coming to you now. So message to anyone wanting to engage women and girls.
Yeah, I think from a university standpoint, similar to Emma, is to hold those girls-only sessions to get more, you know, female participation. But I think also a big thing is to encourage more females to take committee roles, to have that role model kind of image, and to encourage more females to, you know, inspire to take on committee roles, and you know, to show leadership is important. Especially university is the best place to do that. You have a club that is run by students. Take it on board, you know, run with it.
Brilliant. Amazing. Thank you so much, Demi. Amanda?
Yeah, well, I'm down on the south coast, so I'm sort of Worthing, right in that sort of way. It's sort of nearer to Portsmouth, and I think it's really important that you can offer free taster days just for girls only, so that they can just come along. It's very relaxed. Often, you know, if it's just the club that they have to go to initially, that can be quite intimidating. So just to offer these drop-in days. And I think that, as I say, me being a coach, I'd want to be there. And, you know, that girl that turns up completely no confidence, never held a bat in her hand before, never hit a table tennis ball in her life, just to be able to get that girl to hit that ball over the net in itself, it's just that first feeling that you managed to get it over the net. to really focus on that positivity, those little tiny steps that they take that really gives them the encouragement to take things further. So the drop-in sessions could just be for anyone who wants to come along, just to have a little go. And then obviously if they come to, say there were 12 sessions that are free, that you manage to get funding for, you can start to see how these children progress. That's when you can sort of categorise them into ones that maybe just want to carry on and have fun, but then you may have one or two that might show a bit more potential and have a little bit more confidence and ability, and then you can work with the different stages that you have. So I just think I would just say, don't be frightened, don't be afraid. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, just come along and have a go, because you never know what you can achieve until you've done it. And often the thought of it's more scary than when you actually do it. And you may find that you really fall in love with the sport, because it is such a social sport as well. And to offer a drink afterwards, that we have the session, then you will have like a coffee and a biscuit, or a glass of juice, or maybe not biscuit, but a banana or a piece of fruit. Just again, to get that social side, to show them that it's not something that to be scared of. That's actually really good fun, and anyone can do it. Come along, join us.
You've sold it to me, Amanda. I'll come along to your coaching sessions. And thank you much for that. And Veronica, over to you.
Yeah, I'm a little bit like Emma, I think, with what she said. But also, I mean, I find that family is important to, especially at a young age, if you're trying to get them from a young age. So I've started doing them. I'm just trying a family day or family evening that I do on a Friday, where the parents can come with their children, because some of the children are saying, "Oh, can I bring my mum or can I bring my dad, and can they play with us?" So I thought, oh, let me try that out and see how that works. And that went like crazy. I was like, okay, what am I supposed to do with all these children now? But yeah, that went really well. So it wasn't just the girls. The girls got the interaction with their parents. They did it together as a family, and then I saw the potential, and then they wanted to take it to another level. So it's like the families came together, and then the parents slipped off, and then the children came because they felt comfortable knowing that there were other girls there of the same age group, beginners, just having fun, starting off having fun, and that seemed to work to get them into just playing, basically. And that was really good. I didn't think that would take off the way it did, but with Emma getting more coaches into schools, more female coaches into school is huge. I think it shows them that you can do this when they can see somebody that's actually doing that. Demi's got a great point of getting them onto the committee side. All of it, all of what we do, I think is going to contribute to their upbringing and their confidence and their social skills and everything else as they grow up. So yeah, I'm with them, Emma and Demi and Amanda. I'm with all of you with everything that you've said, because all of it is important.
Can I just say,
go on, Amanda.
Sorry, I was just going to say a really good point about offering it for families at first to help overcome their confidence. I think that's a brilliant idea.
I just tried it. I thought, because they were asking me about it, and the children would say, "Oh, Miss, can I bring my dad?" or "Miss, can I bring my mum?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And so, well, what do I do? I said, "Well, I've got a session, or I'll make a session, and just bring them, see what happens." And we just tried it out. And and they told their friend, and they meet at the school gates or they pick up their children, and then they say, "Oh, look, my daughter's going to this table tennis class after school. Come along." And then they told another friend and another parent and another parent, and it just went viral in like 2 weeks. And I was like, "Oh, what to do now? I've got all these children." But it was great. It was a great challenge to have. And like I said, the mothers liked it and enjoyed it, but I think they're doing it more because their child wanted to do it. I think that was the important part, that their daughter wanted to do it, but they didn't feel they could do it at school, or for whatever reason, they didn't feel they could be inclusive. So when they did it with their parents said, "Oh, I like it, and I'm just doing it because my daughter wants to do it more." And then they got comfortable, they got to know me a little bit, and then they said, "Oh no, I like her here. She likes you, you like her. We all get on really well." And then they just leave them to me to kind of take them through the steps. And that was. I didn't expect it, to be fair. I was very shocked that it happened so quick, so fast, just by 2 or 3 children asking me, telling their parents, and they told another parent at school, and that was it.
Word of mouth is so powerful when it's a really good product though, Veronica. So credit to you as well for being able to engage those parents and children in. And there has been some recent research around girl kind of role models for girls. It's often their parents, so mum or dad, and Obviously for juniors, that's the way they get into sports. So I think that's a really important point to make. So we have now reached the end of tonight's webinar. I want to say a massive thanks to the panel. Some really insightful and amazing thoughts from you all. And I look forward to catching hopefully in person next time, catching up with you all. Yeah, think more about it. So handing back over to the other webinar now, where we'll be talking more about women and girls.
A big thank you to our panelists and their thoughts on these topic areas. And just a reminder to use the chat button and feel free to send any questions through to me as well. I'm now going to introduce and hand over to Table Tennis England's interim CEO, Adrian Christie, to tell us more about the goal of gender parity in table tennis.
Thank you, Jenny, and good evening, everybody. Firstly, a huge thank you to the panel for your really inspiring contributions. So much there was resonated, I think, probably with everybody that's taking part this evening or that's listening in on Facebook. So a really big thank you to everybody. I just want to say a few words really on our position as the governing body for the sport in this country. Our intent certainly is to ensure that table tennis becomes popular for everybody, not just popular, but also inclusive, where there are no barriers to entry, regardless of anybody's background, their gender, their ethnicity, their ability to play. And so for us, it's about ensuring that table tennis is being part of everybody's community, inspiring new players to take part, exciting players to return to table tennis perhaps, or for some to play more often, but in a way that playing, training, volunteering, or the competition environments that we create or that are created for people are welcoming for all. And it's been really quite an eye-opener for me to come into table tennis over the last couple of months. I've come from a sport where gender parity was pretty much there. There's a very even spread between male and female participants. But as Amanda made the point in the webinar just now, it's not just about the numbers of people playing. It is actually about having equal opportunity. And what we certainly find, what I've found in coming into this sport, is that table tennis is largely a space that's dominated by men. And when we look at some of the statistics, that women make up 51% of the population of the sport in this country, but actually only 12% of our membership are women, that only 17% of our coaches are female, and just 3% are in representative or leadership positions at an administrative level, whether that be at club, at league, or county. But what we do know, and this is the really positive thing, what we do know is that females would like to engage more in the sport when the right opportunities and the right environment is created for them. And when that happens, they clearly do. And Jenny made some clear observations earlier on. So one of the superb strategies that I've inherited is Level the Table, our strategy for tackling the inequalities that exist in not just in sport, but generally in society, and how Table Tennis England is going to go about playing our part. So we have a great strategy, but what we also have as a predominant feature in that is this long-term vision to achieve gender parity across table tennis in England. And I make no apology for that focus to be increasing women and girls' involvement in the sport. We can't do everything from day one. We will do everything eventually, but we can't do everything from day one. And the clear identified need for us is to work much better. Look at ourselves in the mirror, see what reflects back to us. What are the environments we're creating? What are the barriers that perhaps because of our actions, not necessarily deliberately, but because of those actions, that we find accessibility and the availability of opportunity for women and girls to be not so or that barrier becomes greater for women and girls than it is for men. So we're committed to making table tennis a space where women and girls feel welcomed, that they're valued, they're visible, and of course, like anybody, we want them to have the opportunity to progress, and that's where they want to progress as a player, progress as a coach, progress as a competitor, or progress in the administrative side of the sport. So it's again, really great to hear some really inspiring stories earlier on of those of you that have been able to do that. And probably just to finish, I would say that we can't do this all on our own. We need you, we need others to challenge us, to encourage us perhaps as well at times, to tell us what's working, to tell us what's not working, but most of all work with us to effect the change that we really are determined to make. And it's been an absolute pleasure to join you this evening. I really thank you very much for those of you that have been able to participate. And I'll hand you back now to Jenny. Thank you.
Real. Thank you, Adrian. And next slide, please, Annie. So what is next and how can you be involved? We'll be putting clear steps and opportunities of how together we can start working towards the goal of gender parity shortly. For this to be a success, as Adrian said, we need all of table tennis to be on the journey with us. So a few things we'd like to kind of start seeing or kind of sharing more of. We'd love to hear your success stories of engaging women and girls. We'd love for you to we'll send my email out, but we'd love to know more about what's going on in your club or league. Be open to understanding different perspectives on the sport and an individual's lived experience. Start making changes at your club or league. This can be anything from having more women in top level committee positions or working towards supporting them to become involved in these roles, to reviewing the imagery and language used across your website, social media, or on physical posters. These small changes can make a huge impact for women and girls coming into your club or league or coaching environment. Start to create these female-only spaces and not treat women and girls as a one-size-fits-all approach. Learn about who you really want to engage. Have a no-tolerance approach to any discriminatory or sexist behaviour. Be an ally for women and girls in the game and champion the diversity value they bring to the sport. Be proactive. As I said, Table Tennis England will be sharing resources and developing training for roles across sport. Tell us what would help you be involved more in this journey towards gender parity. Tonight, we are also launching a Facebook group for women and girls to be part of. This is aimed to build a community of women in table tennis. And it'll be for sharing kind of anything from coaching to wanting to join a new team. So it really is for us to build a new community in the women and girls area. Thanks, Annie. So this is all for tonight's webinar, but definitely not the end on this women and girls conversation. Thank you to Adrian and our 4 amazing panelists, Emma, Veronica, Amanda, and Demi. Please share the recording in your personal networks, either the Facebook link or we'll send out the Zoom link out after this. We want everyone to be involved and we can only share this message if we can reach people. So please do join us to achieve gender parity and help level the table. And I'll now just open up for a couple of questions that have come through, so feel free to send any more through. So one question we have had come through during this evening was more a comment than a question, but talking around how table tennis is one of the few sports that enable girls to play the same level at the same age as boys, and this should be promoted to incentivize girls to take part. I completely agree. This is something we'll be sharing more of soon on the TT Kids programme. We're introducing TT Kids festivals, and we're really hoping to bridge the gap between local leagues, so junior leagues, and also one stars by doing this as well. But there'll be more on that coming up over the next few months. One more question that has just popped up as well is around how to join the Facebook group. We will share this, I imagine, on our socials tomorrow on our website, but also I'll make sure that we include the link in to the website, the link in tomorrow when we send out the Zoom link. And so I think we are there on questions. I'll just give it a few more seconds. But I'd like to thank everyone for joining this evening, either via Zoom or on Facebook. I will also make sure my emails are included on the email that's sent out tomorrow, the Zoom link. And so, and that's open for any conversation. So please do reach out and start the conversation around women and girls. And then that is us this evening. Thank you.